Sometimes a single careless joke becomes the spark that burns down an entire life. The evening air in Tennessee held the last threads of summer heat, the kind that clings to the skin and settles deep into the bones. Laughter drifted lazily across my sister's backyard while fireflies blinked in and out like tiny lanterns. I stood near a folding table stacked with paper plates and homemade dishes, holding a bowl of slaw I'd spent my whole morning preparing, when my husband's voice cut through the warmth like a shard of glass. "Anybody want to swap spouses? This one's too headstrong for her own good." His words drifted over the crowd, carried by amusement that wasn't mine. Conversations faltered. Someone coughed awkwardly. A couple gave forced little laughs that died immediately afterward. And there I stood, Jocelyn, 32, married for 7 years to a man who had once held my heart so gently I thought nothing could ever bruise it. Yet here we were. Brandon stood with a beer in hand, tongs in the other, wearing that wide grin he always used when he wanted attention. The evening sun glinted off the sheen of sweat on his forehead, the perfect stage light for a man who believed the world was his audience. He raised his bottle toward me like I was the punchline of his favorite joke. "She's driven to a fault, works till dawn, and has an opinion on everything. Come on, someone must want her." The sting of humiliation hit hard despite years of practice, numbing myself against it. My eyes darted toward my sister Chloe, who watched from across the yard with the same expression she always wore in moments like this, equal parts sympathy and restrained fury. But someone else watched too. Gavin, our quiet neighbor from 3 houses down, stood near the patio sipping a drink. We'd exchanged polite greetings over the years, shared the occasional nod while leaving for work, but little more. He had a calmness to him, a steadiness that seemed almost out of place next to the chaos of Brandon's boisterous personality. Then he said something no one expected. "I'll take her." The chatter died in an instant. Even the cicadas beyond the fence seemed to pause. Brandon's grin slipped, just for a second, before he covered it with a brittle laugh. "You think you could handle her?" "I think she deserves to be handled with respect," Gavin replied evenly. He turned to me, his expression unreadable yet strangely grounding. "What time should I pick you up tomorrow?" My heart hammered. The world felt suddenly too small, too loud, too bright. I glanced at Brandon, at the annoyance sharpening his eyes, at the disbelief shaping his mouth. Years of swallowed hurt pressed against my ribs like a trap storm. "7, I heard myself say. I set down the bowl of slaw, wiping my trembling palms against my dress before walking toward the gate. Voices called after me. Brandon's in shock, Chloe's in concern, but none were strong enough to pull me back. For the first time in years, I walked toward something instead of away. But choosing freedom is one thing, facing the aftermath of that choice is another entirely. The hardest battles are often fought in the silence, after everyone stops watching. I reached the corner of the block before my legs lost their steadiness. The shade beneath the old elm tree offered a brief moment of coolness, but my pulse was still sprinting ahead of me. I pressed my fingertips to my temples, trying to steady my breath, but the only thing I truly felt was release. A wild, terrifying, glorious release. By the time I got home, the sun had dipped low, casting long shadows across the living room. Brandon wasn't there yet, which meant I had time. Time to think, or panic, or both. I sank onto the couch, staring at the quiet walls of a house that had become more confining than comforting. I hadn't planned any of this. I hadn't planned to respond to Gavin, hadn't planned to walk away, hadn't planned to feel this strange sense of awakening rising up in me. Hours passed before Brandon came home. The door swung open sharply, rattling a framed picture on the wall. He reeked of beer and outrage. "So you just walk off and leave?" he demanded, flicking on the light. Real mature, Jocelyn. I didn't answer. I didn't trust my voice to stay steady. "You embarrassed me," he continued, pacing the room like a caged animal. "Do you have any idea how you made me look?" That question, how he looked, summed up our marriage more cleanly than anything. I met him years ago, when life felt wide open and full of possibility. I was fresh out of college, working hard, dreaming harder. Back then, he admired my ambition. He told everyone how proud he was of me. But somewhere along the way, admiration turned into resentment, resentment into control. Every promotion I earned dimmed something inside him. Every success on my part seemed to wound him. And every time he felt small, he made me smaller to compensate. I looked at him again that night, the flushed cheeks, the clenched jaw, the trembling hands, and I realized with absolute clarity, he wasn't angry because I walked away. He was angry because I walked away in front of people. "I'm tired," I finally said. "I'm going to bed." We're not done talking, but I was. I climbed the stairs without another word, something I'd never dared before. The next morning, the storm arrived. He sat at the kitchen table, sober but simmering. The coffee between his hands had gone cold. "You're canceling tonight," he said. "You're calling that guy, and you're fixing what you did." I leaned against the counter, letting the sunlight touch my face. A small rebellion in itself. "No." He slammed the table hard enough to rattle the mugs. "You're my wife, and not your property." He froze, not used to my resistance, not prepared for it. All the things I had swallowed for years climbed up my throat. Every insult disguised as humor, every guilt trip, every moment he made me doubt myself. I laid them bare, piece by piece, while he stared in a mixture of shock and anger. "This isn't about Gavin," I told him. "This is about me finally choosing myself." His face hardened. "If you walk out that door tonight, don't come back." I stepped away from the counter. Then maybe it's time I stopped coming back. But the night ahead wouldn't just test my courage. It would expose truths neither of us were prepared for. Sometimes it takes a stranger's kindness to reveal how deeply you've been starving for it. 7 o'clock arrived faster than I expected. I dressed slowly, hands trembling despite my resolve. A soft blue dress I hadn't worn in years slipped over my shoulders, a reminder of a version of myself I once liked. When the doorbell finally rang, the entire house seemed to inhale. Brandon moved toward the door first, jaw tight, shoulders squared. I followed a few steps behind, determined not to shrink this time. He opened the door aggressively. Gavin stood there, calm as ever, dressed neatly but simply. His presence wasn't loud. It was steady, grounded, almost anchoring. "I'm here for Jocelyn," he said politely. Brandon blocked the doorway. "She's not going anywhere." But I stepped forward before the tension could escalate. "Yes," I said, "I am." A strange stillness filled the space. Brandon looked between us, something desperate flickering through his expression. But I didn't let myself absorb it. I slipped past him, pausing only long enough to meet his eyes. Not with anger, not with apology, but with certainty. Gavin opened the passenger door for me. A small gesture, but one I hadn't experienced in years. As we drove through familiar streets, I waited for panic or guilt to climb. Instead, all I felt was quiet. A deep, surprising quiet. The restaurant was warm and softly lit, filled with the hum of conversation and the clink of silverware. Gavin pulled out my chair, waited until I sat, then settled across from me with a gentle smile. "You don't have to explain anything," he said before I could speak. "Tonight isn't about expectations. It's about breathing." The words eased something in me I didn't know was tense. "I'm not sure what I'm doing," I admitted. "That's okay," he replied. "Not knowing is allowed." Our drinks arrived, and somewhere between the candlelight and his steady presence, I found my voice loosening. I talked, really talked, for the first time in years. About work, about the pieces of myself I tucked away for someone else's comfort, about the exhaustion of being belittled in small, daily doses. Gavin didn't interrupt. He didn't correct. He didn't twist my words into weapons. He just listened. "You carry yourself like someone who's been told to shrink," he said quietly. "But I've seen glimpses of who you are when you forget to be small." His observation hit deep enough to sting. "You notice a lot," I murmured. "I'm an architect," he said with a small smile. "My job is to see the structure beneath the surface and imagine what it could become." I laughed softly. It felt foreign on my tongue, but good. So good. Dinner passed easily, conversation flowing like water. For a moment, I forgot the weight of the life waiting back home, until the restaurant door slammed open. Brandon stormed inside, red-faced and wild-eyed. Conversations halted around us. A server froze mid-step. Brandon spotted us instantly and marched toward our table. "You're actually here with him," he shouted. Gavin stood calmly, placing himself between us in one smooth movement. "Brandon, let's step outside." "Don't tell me what to do," he snapped. "That's my wife." He said it like an accusation, like a like ownership. My pulse pounded, but something inside me hardened. The old me, the compliant, careful, quiet me, would have folded. But the woman Gavin had been speaking to all evening finally rose. "No," I said clearly. "Not tonight." But what happened next shattered every illusion and forced me to choose myself in a way I never had before. When truth finally surfaces, it doesn't whisper, it erupts. The restaurant went silent around us, every gaze pinned to the scene unfolding like a slow-motion disaster. Brandon stood over the table, breathing heavy, face twisted with indignation. His rage wasn't really about me sitting across from Gavin. It was about me daring to choose something he couldn't control. "Get up, Jocelyn. We're leaving," he ordered, pointing at me like I was a child misbehaving in public. Gavin didn't raise his voice. He didn't posture or threaten. He simply positioned himself between us with calm certainty, as if he'd rehearsed defusing storms like this before. "This isn't the place," he said quietly. "Let's step outside." The contrast between them was startling, Brandon's fury vibrating like a struck wire, Gavin's composure absorbing the chaos instead of feeding it. "I'm talking to my wife," Brandon snapped, pushing forward as though Gavin wasn't even there. "Move!" Gavin didn't. "Not unless she asks me to." That simple sentence, centering my choice, did more for me in 5 seconds than my marriage had in years. Brandon's eyes snapped to mine, demanding obedience. "Say you're coming home. Now." I could feel my pulse thudding in my throat. I could feel everyone watching, servers gripping menus, couples frozen mid-bite, even the candle flames trembling in the tense air. For so long, I'd lived inside Brandon's shadow, bending, apologizing, shrinking with a flare. But not tonight. "No," I said again, louder this time. The single syllable felt like an earthquake, splitting open 7 years of silence. Brandon's face contorted. "You're humiliating me. You humiliated yourself," I replied. "And me. For years." My voice didn't shake, something I didn't expect. "And I'm done pretending it's normal." He scoffed, turning to the room as though seeking validation. "Hear that? She thinks she's some sort of victim. She's overreacting. This is marriage, people joke." A manager approached cautiously, followed by a security guard. Their expressions were firm, unyielding. "Sir," the manager said, "we need you to lower your voice. And if you continue causing a disturbance, we'll have to ask you to leave." "Unbelievable," Brandon muttered, running a shaky hand through his hair. "You people have no idea what's going on. She's my wife. I'm taking her home." He reached toward me. Gavin's hand came down gently but unmistakably on Brandon's wrist. "Don't." The guard stepped closer, the manager signaling him something. Brandon jerked his hand away. Something in his posture collapsed, anger giving way to desperation. "Why are you doing this?" he asked me, voice cracking. "Why are you throwing everything away?" My heart twisted, not with regret, but with the familiar ache of being misunderstood by someone who never tried to know me in the first place. "I'm not throwing anything away," I said softly. "I'm leaving what's already broken." For a second, just one, I thought he might understand. But then the anger returned, hot and blinding. "This isn't over," he spat. "You'll regret this." He turned abruptly and stormed out, the restaurant door slamming behind him like the closing of a chapter one should have ended long ago. Silence held the room until Gavin gently guided me back into my seat. His hand covered mine, a quiet anchor in the aftermath of the storm. "You okay?" he asked. "I don't know," I whispered. "But I think I'm finally on my way there." But the night's confrontation was only the beginning. The real unraveling waited at home. Ending a relationship doesn't always happen with screams. Sometimes it happens with a sentence whispered into stillness. The ride home was quiet, the city lights streaking across the windshield in soft, blurred lines. My heartbeat finally began to slow, though my hand still trembled in my lap. Gavin didn't speak, letting the silence stretch without forcing anything into it. A kindness I hadn't realized I needed this much. When he pulled up in front of my house, every window glowed with harsh artificial light. The living room curtains were open, revealing Brandon pacing back and forth like a storm trapped in a glass box. "Call me if you need me," Gavin said softly. "For anything." I nodded. I didn't trust my voice not to break. Inside, Brandon's fury had simmered into something resentment thick as smoke. "So that's it," he demanded before I even closed the door. "You run off, embarrass me, disrespect our marriage, and act like the victim?" I dropped my purse on the console table. "I don't want to fight." "Oh, but you will," he hissed, "because I'm done tiptoeing. You crossed the line tonight." I stood straighter. "No, you crossed the line years ago." He laughed bitterly. "You're being dramatic." "No," I said, tired to my core. "I'm being honest." Something in my tone must have unsettled him. He stared at me, eyes sharp, calculating. Then quieter. "Are you in love with him?" I shook my head. "This isn't about Gavin." "Then what?" he yelled. "What is worth destroying our marriage?" I took a deep breath. "You." The word hit him like a physical blow. He tore it down, one belittling comment at a time. One insult disguised as humor. One resentment you stuffed into my ribs to make sure I felt smaller than you. My voice didn't shake, even as tears burned behind my eyes. I just finally stopped pretending not to notice. He sank onto the couch, chest heaving. "We can fix this," he whispered. "We can go to counseling. I'll change. I promise." I'd waited years to hear those words and felt nothing. "You've promised before," I said gently, "but we never stopped cycling back to this. I can't keep shrinking. I can't keep apologizing for being myself. And I won't." His expression hardened again, as if hope was too vulnerable a place to stay. "So that's it." I nodded. "I want a divorce." The sentence hovered in the air, soft yet final. The living room felt bigger somehow, like I'd opened a window after years of stale, trapped air. He stared at me, chest tight, mouth parted. "You don't mean that." "I do. I've meant it for longer than you know." Slowly, painfully, he realized it wasn't a threat, it was the truth. He leaned back, hands covering his face. "You're making a mistake," he whispered. "You're going to regret walking away." But the strange thing was, regret didn't touch me. Not even a flicker. "I'm going to the guest room," I said softly. "We'll talk about next steps tomorrow." He didn't answer. He didn't shout again. He didn't follow me up the stairs. He just sat there in the half-lit room, staring at the pieces of a life he'd assumed would always stay glued together no matter how hard he hammered them. And I felt something new, something fragile and light. Relief. But freedom isn't instant. There were battles still ahead, and healing I never expected. Rebuilding isn't glamorous. It's messy, exhausting, and quietly miraculous. The morning after declaring the divorce, the world outside looked deceptively normal. Birds sang on the windowsill. Cars rolled past on Maple Avenue. But inside me, everything had shifted, like I'd finally stepped out of a house I didn't realize had no doors. Brandon slammed cabinets downstairs, a last attempt at reasserting power through noise. But I moved slowly, deliberately, making coffee in the guest room like someone preparing for a new life instead of clinging to an old one. Over the next weeks, life became a whirlwind of logistics, lawyers, emails, paperwork, dividing items we once bought as if forever was guaranteed. The emotional weight was heavier than any box I packed. But alongside the strain came unexpected freedom. I rented a small, sunlit apartment in Germantown. White walls, blue balcony tiles, a tiny kitchen with a stubborn faucet. My sister Chloe helped me move in, shoving boxes through the door while giving running monologues about empowerment and fresh starts. "You look lighter already," she said one afternoon, handing me a mug of tea as the sunset painted the skyline peach. "I feel lighter," I admitted. Leaving Brandon hadn't magically erased years of shrinking, but every day I rediscovered pieces of myself I thought were lost. My spark, my ambition, my laughter, my voice. I returned to running at dawn, wind cooling my skin as the river glimmered. I signed up for a pottery class, fingers digging into clay the way I wished I could mold my new life, imperfect but mine. I accepted the promotion at work I had once been pressured to decline. And Gavin, he became a quiet constant, not a whirlwind romance, but a steady presence. We took slow walks, exchanged thoughtful messages, shared coffee without pressure or expectation. He never pushed me to define anything, never used my vulnerability as leverage, never tried to fill the spaces I needed to rebuild myself. 3 months after the divorce finalized, he showed up at my door with takeout from my favorite Thai place. "I figured no one should eat pad Thai alone on a Friday," he said sheepishly. I laughed, a real laugh, not the brittle one Brandon used to mock, and let him in. We talked for hours about art, architecture, childhood dreams, and heartbreak. Somewhere between stories, we drifted into comfortable silence. Not tense, not forced, just peaceful. At one point, he hesitated before speaking. "Can I ask you something? Anything?" That night, when I said I'd take you, did you say yes because you wanted out, or because you wanted something else? I thought about it, really thought about it before answering. "That night, I didn't choose you," I said. "I chose myself. You just happened to be the person who reminded me I still had permission to choose." He nodded, quietly touched by the honesty. Then softly, "I'm glad you did." He didn't try to kiss me. He didn't try to define us. He simply sat beside me, fingers brushing mine in a gesture so gentle it felt like a promise, not of love, but of respect. And maybe that was enough for now. 6 months after the divorce, news about Brandon drifted through the neighborhood grapevine. He had lost his job, his reputation had soured, his dates never went past one. He was unraveling publicly in the same way he'd quietly unraveled our marriage in private. People expected me to feel vindicated. Instead, I felt distance. His story wasn't mine anymore. I had stepped into a version of myself that didn't revolve around someone else's approval or someone else's anger. But even as I reclaimed my life, fate wasn't done surprisingly. Healing isn't loud. Sometimes it begins in the quiet places where no one is watching. By the time autumn painted Nashville in gold and rust, the shape of my life felt unfamiliar in all the right ways. My apartment smelled faintly of lavender and fresh paint, sunlight stretching across the hardwood floors each morning like a personal blessing. There were days I still stumbled emotionally. After all, 7 years of diminishing yourself doesn't vanish overnight, but the difference now was simple. I wasn't stumbling backward. I was stumbling forward. Gavin and I settled into an easy rhythm. We met for coffee some mornings, walked around the neighborhood on breezy evenings, or shared quiet dinners where silence didn't threaten but comforted. He never asked for more than I was ready to give. That patience, steady, unforced, was something I didn't realize could exist in relationships. One evening, after a long day at work, I found a potted rosemary plant outside my door. No note, just the herb sitting there like a gentle reminder that life could grow again. I knew instantly who it was from. I placed it on my balcony, smiling. A few days later, I attended my Saturday pottery class. I sat at the wheel, clay spinning, hands slick and unsteady. My instructor wandered by, watching my lopsided vase take form. "Centering takes practice," she said. "If you rush it, the whole thing collapses." The metaphor wasn't lost on me. Around this time, Chloe visited again, armed with pastries and gossip. She plopped onto my couch and sighed dramatically. "You know, it's weird seeing you peaceful." "Good weird, but weird." I laughed. "What's that supposed to mean?" "You spent years bracing yourself for impact," she said. "Now you're soft again. Not weak, soft. There's a difference." Her observation lingered with me long after she left. Later that week, Gavin and I went for a walk along the river. The breeze was cool, brushing strands of hair against my cheek. He kept pace with me, quiet but present. "You seem lighter," he said gently. "I'm trying," I replied. "Some days I'm still learning how not to apologize for everything." "You don't owe apologies for taking up space," he said. "The world's better when you show up fully." I glanced at him, feeling something inside me warm. Not romance exactly, but recognition. A seeing and being seen. We walked until the sky deepened into twilight, a soft blue bowl overhead. At one point, our hands brushed. Neither of us pulled away. Not ready for something new didn't mean I didn't feel the pull of it. That night, alone on my balcony with the rosemary scent drifting upward, I allowed myself to think about the possibility of love again. Not in the desperate way I once clung to affection, but in the gentle way plants lean towards sunlight. Because for the first time, sunlight felt like something I deserved. But just when new beginnings felt steady, the past came knocking in the most unexpected way. The past doesn't disappear. It circles back when you least expect it. News about Brandon reached me in fragments, like overheard conversations through a half-open door. Chloe's husband mentioned that Brandon had been let go from his company. Another neighbor whispered that his temper had gotten worse since the divorce. Someone else said he'd been trying to date. But women in the community had already heard enough to keep their distance. None of it surprised me. What did surprise me was the letter. It arrived on a Wednesday. Thick paper, crumpled edges, my name scrawled across the front in handwriting I had once recognized in a heartbeat. Now it looked foreign. For a long moment, I couldn't bring myself to open it. My fingers hovered, hesitant, as though peeling back the flap would let old versions of myself rush out again. Eventually, I tore it open. The letter wasn't an apology, not really. Brandon blamed stress, alcohol, pressure from work. He insisted he hadn't realized how badly he'd hurt me, insisted he had been joking, insisted that a marriage shouldn't dissolve over one misunderstanding. Typical. But what struck me most was what wasn't written. There was no acknowledgement of the hundreds of small cuts that came long before the barbecue. No recognition of the years I spent trying to twist myself into shapes that made him feel bigger, brighter, more secure. No remorse for the damage done to my confidence, my autonomy, my sense of self. Instead, the ending read, "You owe it to both of us to reconsider. I'm willing to try again if you come home." I folded the letter neatly and set it aside. A few hours later, I texted Gavin. "Can we take a walk?" He responded almost immediately. "Of course. I'll meet you outside." The air carried the coolness of early fall when we headed down the street. Leaves skittered along the sidewalk, scraping softly. I held the letter in my hand, unable to find the right words. Finally, I offered it to him. He didn't read it, just looked at the crumpled edges and asked, "Do you want to talk about it?" "I don't know what I want," I admitted. Part of me is angry, part of me is tired, and part of me feels guilty for not feeling anything at all. He nodded, his expression gentle. "You don't owe him your feelings." "That's the thing," I murmured. For years, I thought I owed him everything. My time, my energy, my personality. It feels strange to owe him nothing now. "That's freedom," he said quietly. "It's supposed to feel strange at first." We stopped on the bridge, overlooking the water. The river shimmered under the streetlights, shifting, moving, never stagnant. "Do you want to respond to him?" Gavin asked. "No," I said firmly. "There's nothing left to say." He nodded, then extended his hand. Not asking, simply offering. I slipped my hand into his. A small gesture. A loud truth. I wasn't going backward. That night, I tossed Brandon's letter into the trash. Not angrily, not triumphantly, just peacefully, like setting something down I had carried far too long. But letting go of the past is one thing. Embracing what comes next takes a different kind of courage. New love doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it begins with a quiet, steady warmth. Winter approached Nashville with soft breezes and early dusk. My apartment felt cozier than ever. Pillows, candles, the rosemary plant thriving on my balcony despite the season shift. My life no longer felt like an echo of someone else's expectations. It felt mine. Gavin and I continued orbiting closer in a slow, natural way. We weren't labeling anything, but the space between us had changed. It had gained weight, sweet, unmistakable weight. One evening, I invited him over for dinner. Nothing fancy, just pasta, a salad, and a bottle of wine I'd been saving for a moment that felt right. He arrived with a loaf of fresh bread and that easy smile that always unraveled something tight inside me. As we ate, we talked about everything from childhood stories to the fears we carried into adulthood. At one point, he told me about his failed marriage, not with bitterness, but with introspection. "She didn't break me," he said. "We just stopped growing in the same direction." He paused. "I think the real failure was pretending we could force the pieces to fit." I understood that more intimately than I wished. "And you?" he asked gently. "What do you think your marriage taught you?" I twirled pasta around my fork, thinking carefully. That shrinking myself wasn't noble. It wasn't sacrifice or devotion. It was slow erosion. And once you lose yourself long enough, you forget how to be anything else. He studied me, eyes warm. "You're not lost now." "No," I said, smiling softly. "I'm not." After dinner, we moved to the couch with mugs of tea. The quiet settled warmly between us. Not awkward, not unsure. The kind of quiet that welcomes confession. "You know," Gavin said, staring at the steam rising from his mug. "That night at the barbecue, when I said I'd take you, I didn't expect you to say yes. Neither did I admitted. It felt like something inside me cracked open. I wasn't trying to steal you, he added gently. I just couldn't watch him make you small anymore. My throat tightened, not with sadness, but gratitude. Deep, unexpected gratitude. I know. Silence again. Then he turned slightly, his knee brushing mine. Can I ask something without messing up whatever this is? I nodded. Ask. Do you see a future for us? Or am I just someone helping you through a transition? The vulnerability in his voice surprised me. He wasn't asking for promises, just honesty. I don't want to rush into anything, I said truthfully. But when I picture the life I want, I see peace, respect, partnership, and when I'm with you, I feel all of that. His breath eased out, like he'd been holding it for months. That's enough for me. Then, slowly, giving me time to pull away if I wanted, he leaned in and kissed me. It wasn't dramatic or breathless or cinematic. It was gentle, steady and real. The kind of kiss that says, I see you. All of you. When we finally pulled back, he rested his forehead against mine. You deserve this, he whispered. Not me this. Kindness, safety, joy. For the first time, I believed it. But the journey toward a new beginning was far from over. The year ahead held revelations I never saw coming. Sometimes the biggest change isn't falling in love. It's realizing you're no longer afraid to. Winter thawed slowly, the way it often does in Tennessee, gradually loosening its grip before surrendering fully. By early spring, my life had settled into a rhythm that felt both unfamiliar and beautifully mine. Work was thriving. My apartment felt lived in and warm, and the girl I'd once been, the one who tiptoed around emotional landmines, felt like a distant memory. Gavin and I grew closer in a way that felt organic and forced. We didn't declare anything. We didn't rush. The connection simply unfolded, layer by gentle layer. One breezy Saturday, he invited me to see a building he'd been working on, a community center nearing completion. I walked beside him as he guided me through the almost finished space, explaining the flowing hallways, the sunlit lobby, the choice of materials designed to make people feel grounded. You think about how people experience space, I said, running my hand along a newly installed banister. He nodded. Spaces shape people more than we realize. A good building should make you feel safe. That word lingered in the air between us. Safe. Something I hadn't felt in so long I had forgotten how much it mattered. He watched me quietly, as if reading thoughts I didn't speak aloud. You deserve safe, Jocelyn. I turned toward him, the spring sunlight catching in his gray eyes. I'm learning that. We left the center and walked through a small garden the city had planted nearby. New blooms pushed through the soil, renewal in physical form. As we reached a bench beneath a budding dogwood tree, he sat and waited for me to follow. When I did, he gently took my hand. Can I tell you something? He asked. Always. You're different than when I first met you. Not because you've changed, because you've emerged. The words hit me harder than I expected. My breath caught in my chest. Emerged. Not transformed. Not rebuilt. Emerged. As if I'd been there all along beneath the rubble of expectations and criticism. I like who I'm becoming, I admitted, voice soft. So do I, he said, thumb brushing my knuckles. Our quiet moment was broken only by birdsong and the soft rustle of petals. It felt like the world paused, just long enough for something new to take root between us. Later that night, I sat on my balcony with a cup of chamomile tea, thinking about the journey from that barbecue to this moment of steady contentment. I had expected heartbreak, or loneliness, or regret. Instead, I found peace, and that peace had opened the door to something sweeter, steadier, healthier than I ever imagined possible. Not because of Gavin alone, but because I had allowed myself to grow again. Just as I started to relax into the evening, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. We need to talk. It's important. The name beneath it made my stomach tighten. Brandon. I stared at the screen, the words blurring slightly as old instincts tried to claw their way back. But I wasn't the woman who once crumbled at every demand. Not anymore. But the conversation Brandon wanted would reveal far more than I expected, and force decisions I thought I'd already made. The past doesn't always return to reclaim you. Sometimes it returns to test how far you've come. I debated responding for nearly an hour. My tea went cold. The sky deepened into indigo. Old fear whispered from the shadows, urging caution. But the woman I'd become, stronger, clearer, grounded, refused to let fear steer me. Finally, I typed back, "What do you want?" His reply came almost instantly. "To talk. Just once. Please." Reluctantly, I agreed to meet him the next morning at a quiet cafe near the edge of town. Neutral territory. Public. Safe. When I arrived, Brandon was already there, sitting stiffly at a corner table. He looked smaller somehow. Not physically, but in presence. His shoulders slumped. His eyes tired. Gone was the polished man who relished being the loudest in any room. He stood when I approached. "Jocelyn, thanks for coming." I nodded, taking a seat across from him. A barrier of wood and ceramic coffee mugs separated us, symbolic and literal. For a moment, he seemed unsure how to begin. "I heard you're seeing someone," he said finally. I stiffened. "What does that have to do with this conversation?" "Everything and nothing," he sighed. I didn't think you'd move on so fast." "I didn't move on fast," I corrected gently. "I moved forward." He winced, absorbing the distinction. "I'm not here to guilt you," he said. "I just wanted to explain something. Maybe for closure. Maybe because I owe you that." I folded my hands, waiting. "I wasn't a good husband," he admitted. "I know that now. I pushed you down so I wouldn't feel like I was falling." He rubbed the back of his neck, a crack in his hardened facade, showing vulnerability I had rarely seen. "When you succeeded, it reminded me of everything I wasn't. Instead of being proud, I got scared. Fear, the root of so much destruction." He continued, "My dad treated my mom the same way. I always swore I'd never become him. But I did. The jokes, the belittling. I thought it made me look confident. Turns out it just made me cruel." Silence grew between us, heavy but honest. "I'm not telling you this to win you back," he said. "I know that's not happening. I just needed you to know I'm trying to fix myself." I believed him, but belief didn't equal reconciliation. Growth doesn't erase damage. "I appreciate you saying that," I said quietly. "Truly, but fixing yourself isn't my responsibility anymore." He nodded, eyes shining with regret. "I know." A long pause. "Is he good to you?" he asked finally. The question was fragile, tentative. "Yes," I answered simply. "He is." Brandon looked down at his coffee, nodding slowly. "Good. I hope you get the life you deserve." "And I hope you find healing," I replied. We both stood. No hug, no lingering looks. Just two people releasing something that had long needed to be let go. As I walked out into the crisp morning air, sunlight hit my skin with quiet warmth. Brandon's chapter in my life hadn't been erased, but it had ended, and I was finally free to write the next one without looking over my shoulder. But moving forward wasn't just about closure, it was about stepping boldly into a future I never believed I'd earn. A heart rebuilt doesn't return to who it was, it becomes someone stronger, sharper, and beautifully new. Spring settled in fully, warm breezes, blooming dogwoods, the scent of rain lingering in the air. Life moved gently, rhythmically, like a song on repeat that I no longer wanted to end. Work flourished. My pottery pieces got less lopsided. My balcony garden thrived. And Gavin, he remained a source of steady warmth, the kind that felt earned, not borrowed. One evening, he invited me to a small art exhibition downtown. It showcased local creators, paintings, sculptures, ceramics. I wandered beside him, admiring the textures and colors, feeling inspired in a way I hadn't since college. At one point, he stopped in front of a painting at an open window overlooking a field of wildflowers. "That one reminds me of you," he said quietly. I tilted my head. "Why?" "Because it looks like possibility." Something fluttered in my chest, not fear, but recognition. We left the gallery and walked through the city streets, hand in hand. Nashville glowed around us, streetlights shimmering on wet pavement, soft music drifting from open bar doors, laughter spilling from patios. "Can I ask you something?" I said as we reached the pedestrian bridge overlooking the river. "Of course. Do you ever worry about us?" I asked, choosing my words carefully. "About whether I'm ready, or whether I'll back away again." He paused thoughtfully. "I don't worry," he said. "I'm aware. There's a difference. Aware. Yeah, he said with a small smile. Aware that you're healing. Aware that trust takes time. Aware that love built slowly is usually the strongest kind. Love. The word didn't scare me the way it used to. I don't want to repeat the mistakes of my past, I said softly. You won't, he replied, because you're not the same woman anymore. I squeezed his hand. You've helped me become her. You did that yourself, he corrected gently. I just stood close enough for you to feel safe doing it. We lingered on the bridge a while longer, watching the water shimmer as boats drifted beneath us. The city hummed like a heartbeat, steady and alive. When Gavin turned toward me, his expression was tender, almost reverent. Jocelyn, I care about you, deeply, and I'm willing to keep going slow as you need. But if you ever want more, if you ever feel ready, I'll be here. Warmth spread across my chest. Not rushed, not pressured, just welcome. I think, I said slowly, I'm getting ready. His smile was soft, hopeful. Then we moved forward together. He kissed me again, gentle at first, then deeper and more certain. The breeze tugged at my hair, the river below shimmering like liquid silver. For the first time in my adult life, a kiss didn't feel like a promise I had to uphold. It felt like a promise I wanted to make. Later that night, curled on my couch with him beside me, I realized something profound. I wasn't rebuilding the same life. I was creating a new one entirely, one shaped by my choices, my boundaries, my courage. The girl who once whispered apologies into silence had grown into a woman who spoke truth, even when her voice trembled. And the life unfolding before her was brighter than anything she'd ever dared imagine. But the story wasn't over yet. The final chapter would reveal just how far I'd come. A year can change everything, but the right moment can redefine a lifetime. As summer approached again, the world felt lighter, brighter, and astonishingly new. My mornings began with sunlight spilling across my apartment floor, the rosemary on my balcony stretching toward the warmth. My days filled with meaningful work, laughter, and creativity. And my evenings, many of them found their way into Gavin's presence. We weren't rushing. But we weren't circling cautiously anymore either. We were moving forward, steadily, honestly. One Saturday afternoon, Chloe invited me to another backyard barbecue. The same setting where everything had changed a year ago. At first, I hesitated. Returning to that space felt like reopening an old book and feeling the outline of old bruises beneath the pages. But I was different now, so I agreed. The day was warm, cicadas humming in the trees, the grill sizzling as neighbors chatted. When Gavin arrived, Chloe's husband greeted him like an old friend. He fit so naturally into the space that I wondered how long I'd lived without this kind of ease. As we moved around the yard, people who hadn't seen me in months approached with hugs, congratulations, or gentle whispers of "you look great." Happier. And I did feel happier, an effortless sort of happiness I hadn't known I deserved. At one point, I drifted away toward the fence line, needing a moment to breathe in the deja vu without being overwhelmed by it. Gavin followed, stepping beside me with quiet intuition. "You okay?" he asked, brushing his fingers lightly against mine. I nodded. It's strange being here again. This feels like the place where my old life cracked open. He glanced around thoughtfully. Cracks let light in. I smiled softly. This place used to feel like an ending. Now it feels like a beginning. He leaned his shoulder gently against mine. That's because you made it one. We rejoined the crowd, and as the evening settled, laughter rose across the yard. I found myself watching Gavin laugh with Chloe's husband, flipping burgers, teasing lightly in a way that held no malice. The sunlight hit him in a warm glow, and for the first time, I let myself wonder, not fearfully but curiously, what a future with him might truly look like. Later, Chloe joined me with a smirk. "He's good for you," she said, sipping lemonade. "You're not dimming yourself anymore." I didn't realize how much I dimmed, I admitted. "That's what happens when you're with the wrong person," she said gently. "They don't just take your light, they convince you you're supposed to live without it." I exhaled, feeling the truth of that settle in my chest. "And the right person?" Chloe smiled toward where Gavin stood. "They help you shine brighter." Her words wrapped around me like a warm blanket. When Gavin returned to my side, his hand found mine naturally, like a promise without pressure. As the barbecue wound down, families packing up, lanterns flickering softly in the dusk, I realized something quietly monumental. I wasn't surviving anymore. I was living, and loving again, slowly, tenderly, bravely. But the moment that would define everything, the moment that truly closed one chapter and opened the next, was still waiting just ahead. Closure isn't always a conversation. Sometimes it's a realization that arrives quietly, without fanfare. A few weeks after the barbecue, something unexpected happened. I ran into someone from my old neighborhood, a coworker of Brandon's, while grabbing coffee on my lunch break. We exchanged small talk, but then her expression shifted into something more careful. "I saw Brandon recently," she said tentatively. "He's not doing well." I sipped my drink, waiting. "He's been struggling since the divorce. He's quieter, works odd jobs, keeps to himself. People don't really know what to do around him." There was no judgment in her tone, just sadness. "Does he still talk about me?" I asked. "Not the way he used to," she replied. It's like he realized too late what he lost. For a long time, I would have crumbled hearing those words: guilt, shame, obligation wrapping around me like chains. But now they felt distant, like news from a life I had lived centuries ago. That evening, I sat on my balcony, watching the sun dip behind the buildings. Birds fluttered across the sky, the city humming faintly below. The world felt wide, open, waiting. And I realized I didn't wish Brandon harm. I didn't wish him suffering. I didn't wish him punishment. I wished him healing, because healing for him didn't pull me backward, it pushed me forward. Later that week, Gavin invited me to see the completed community center. Children's murals decorated the walls. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows. The whole space felt vibrant and welcoming. While walking through the reading room, he paused. "You know," he said, "buildings like this survive because the foundation is strong enough to hold the weight above it." I nodded, tracing the edge of a bookshelf. "People are like that too." He smiled, something warm and admiring flickering in his eyes. "You rebuild your foundation, and you helped me trust it again." We moved deeper into the building, exploring classrooms, studios, and gathering spaces. Finally, as we reached the main atrium, he turned toward me fully. "Jocelyn, I need to tell you something." My heart fluttered. "Okay, I love who you were. I love who you're becoming. And I love the way you've reclaimed your life. I don't want to rush anything or push you into something you're not ready for, but I want you to know that I'm here. Not temporarily, not casually. Here, in the way that matters." His voice didn't shake. His eyes didn't waver. It wasn't a grand gesture. It was stability, spoken aloud. I felt something inside me settle softly, like a puzzle piece finally finding its place. "I think," I whispered, "I'm ready to let myself love again." He stepped closer. "With me?" I nodded. "Yes, with you." The atrium filled with late afternoon light, painting us in gold. When he pulled me gently into his arms, it wasn't the passionate tumble of a new romance. It was the deep exhale of finally coming home to myself. We stood like that for a while, two people who learned the hard way what love shouldn't be, finally discovering what it could become. And in that moment, the last echoes of my old life faded completely. One final moment remained, the moment that transformed healing into a beginning. The ending of one story is always the quiet beginning of another. 1 year to the day after the barbecue that unraveled my old life, Chloe hosted another summer gathering. The same backyard, the same fireflies, the same smell of grilled food drifting through warm evening air. But I wasn't the same woman walking into it. I entered hand in hand with Gavin, sunlight catching the easy smile he offered Chloe as she greeted us. My sister squeezed me tight, whispering, "You look truly happy. Not pretending happy. Real." And I was. The kind of happiness that grows from authenticity, not appeasement. As the evening settled, I wandered to the same spot I had stood the year before, near the old wooden gate where I set down a bowl of coleslaw and walked away from a life that no longer fit. The memory felt distant now, like recalling a movie I'd watched long ago. Gavin joined me, slipping an arm around my waist. "Thinking about last year?" he asked. "A little. It feels like a lifetime ago." "You've lived a lifetime since then," he said gently. I rested my head against his shoulder, watching families laugh, kids run barefoot in the grass, neighbors chat around picnic tables. Life in motion, life continuing. Do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't said something that day? I asked. He chuckled softly. Honestly, I didn't expect you to take me seriously. Neither did I. But I'm glad you did, he said, brushing a thumb along my arm. Not because it brought you to me, though I'm grateful for that, but because it brought you back to you. His words hit a tender truth. Leaving Brandon hadn't been about choosing Gavin. Gavin had simply given me the courage to choose myself. We wandered back toward the center of the yard, where Chloe's husband was telling a dramatic story about a disastrous fishing trip. Gavin jumped in with his own exaggerated commentary, making everyone double over laughing. I watched him with soft amazement, how he blended easily without overshadowing, how he joked without tearing anyone down, how he held space without demanding attention. This gentleness was what love was supposed to feel like. Later, as the sun dipped low and string lights flickered on, Gavin pulled me aside toward the quiet edge of the yard. My heart fluttered in recognition of his serious expression. Jocelyn, he said quietly, taking both my hands, this year has shown me more about resilience, strength, and hope than I ever thought possible. You rebuilt your life from the inside out, and I've been honored just to walk beside you. Emotion tightened my throat, sweet and overwhelming. He continued, I don't want to rush tomorrow, or define forever today, but I want you to know something. He paused, eyes steady on mine. I love you. The world softened, warm and slow. And I love you, I whispered back, realizing as I said it that it wasn't fear speaking anymore. It wasn't longing or insecurity or desperation. It was truth. He wrapped me in his arms, and for a moment everything fell away. The past, the pain, the years of shrinking. I existed only in the present, whole and unbroken. As fireworks crackled softly in the distance, I felt the full arc of my journey. Every step, every crack, every moment of digging myself free, leading me. Not to a man, to myself, and through myself, to a love that honored me. This wasn't a story about revenge, or another man saving me, or a marriage collapsing. It was the story of a woman remembering her worth, and choosing a life that finally reflected it. And I never looked back.